You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
My guy.
Ari Melber.
Very happy to be here.
Did he pronounce your last name right?
Ari Melber, yeah.
Melber, okay, got you.
DJ Envy gets it right on the first time.
That's
No,
right.
he doesn't.
I usually
That's
don't.
that's
I usually
very
don't.
rare.
That's why they question me.
Very rare. For people who don't know, tell them who you are, Ari.
I am an attorney and a writer, and I now host a news show called The Beat that airs 6 p.m. Eastern nightly on MSNBC.
Fake news. No, I'm kidding.
Well, let me tell you something. Fake news is a lot harder than real news because we have to make up every story from scratch.
Right.
So that takes a long time.
Right.
I got familiar with Ari because throughout my Twitter feed, people would always send me these clips of this guy who would be quoting Jay-Z
They did a whole entire montage
on
of you quoting
MSNBC, and I'm like,
hip-hop lyrics.
and quoting them in context. So I was like, wow, who is this guy? So that's what made me start watching because he was saying things that were digestible and making news interesting for me, basically. How you become such a Jay-Z fan?
Charlamagne putting some respect down, I feel.
And not just Jay-Z,
and it's mutual.
3 6 Mafia, just everybody. I'm
You're
like,
a
okay.
huge hip-hop fan, huh?
I'm a big hip-hop fan, which is why it is such an honor to be here at the Breakfast Club for real. I mean, you grow up on this stuff, and then you get to meet people, and I imagine you guys might sometimes feel like that as well when you get to meet your people. So this, for me, is very exciting. I went to Garfield High School in Seattle. That's where Quincy Jones went and Jimi Hendrix, and rap was all around. So it was one of those things. It wasn't like choosing rap. It was just everywhere in the school.
I thought
you
for
from
sure he was
Seattle?
going to say the Bronx. Yeah, he's from Seattle. I thought for sure he was going to say the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn. I wasn't expecting Seattle.
I
Salute to
live in Brooklyn.
206.
I live in Brooklyn, but I represent 206, and so that was around everywhere. And I had friends who were into music, and we got all around that. And then with the news, what's funny is my job. What I try to do is to be clear and to report facts and explain things.
That's important.
Right? So, of course, you're going to reach for anything that helps do that. And it might be a movie, and it might be a sports analogy, or it might be lyrics. And a lot of these lyrics, particularly when you think about, we're in a world right now where covering the Trump administration involves covering a lot of crime.
Yeah.
Well, explain some things to
So
us.
you end up talking
Yeah.
about songs and lyrics and crime.
Money,
Please-
sex, and drugs, baby.
Please explain some things
Yes.
to us right now, because first I know we want to talk about Michael Cohen, who is Donald Trump's attorney, personal attorney, and I guess that's one of his very limited clients that he has, and this $500,000 payment that he got from the Russians. So talk about that and what's going on and break it down for us.
This is wild. If this were the last scene in the movie and you learned that the president's fixer set up an account to pay off a porn star and then funneled money into the account from a Russian billionaire who was so dodgy, he's been sanctioned by the president's own Treasury Department. And all this comes out, you'd be like, I feel like they're tying the plot together too much, too quickly. It's bonkers. And so it reflects something in the realm of desperation, recklessness, arrogance, or a mix of the three. Because Michael Cohen has basically told on himself, and that's why he's in a lot of trouble. I mean, it's all in the evidence now. It's all in the records.
So what do you think would happen if Michael Cohen was like, okay, yes, I did pay off Stormy Daniels, and this was because of Donald Trump and the election, and then Donald Trump admitted it. Would it even matter? Do you think his supporters would be like, oh, my God, we're turning on him? Do you think he would get impeached? Do you think any of...
Because he paid for some pussy?
Wait.
No.
Before you answer that, is what he did illegal?
Is what...
Paying off somebody not to talk, is that illegal?
Not if you do it the right way. So you can pay someone to talk or not talk. Like, we're in a room with very popular people who get paid to talk. But if a company wanted to pay you not to talk, that alone would be lawful, right? That's what an NDA is.
Right.
Companies paying us to talk about them is not
Right.
lawful. It's called plugola.
However, if they approached you,
I don't mean like that.
We know what you mean.
but if
You
they
know what I
approached
mean.
you while you were getting in your car and threatened you,
Yeah, but if you lie to a bank, that can get you 30 years under the Bank Fraud Act. And if you lie to the New York authorities, that can get you into state criminal liability that Donald Trump can't pardon you for.
But
So-
if Charlamagne has sex with a porn star, right? And I'm his
Charlamagne's
attorney.
a faithful married man.
I wasn't gonna say me, so I had to use you. And I'm his attorney. And I say, okay, porn star, I'll give you $100,000, never to say anything again. That's not illegal,
he's
right?
saying that alone is not
that
illegal.
alone's not illegal.
So where's the illegal part?
And look, you take DJ Envy into court, counselor, put him in front of the judge. I like my odds. I think you're very persuasive, you know, and that's part of what being a lawyer is. You got to think about your client here. You know, Charlemagne as a client, I'd say he's grown a lot over the years, and so
Ask me. I'm gonna say I didn't fuck her, and I damn sure ain't give her $100,000 to fuck her.
That's why I wouldn't put him on the stand.
You paid this girl $100,000.
Excuse you,
You
sir.
run for president. I needed to be quiet. I needed to
are you listening to your advice of counsel here?
No, neither is Trump. He never does.
No, he doesn't. He
what's
fires a lot of
illegal?
lawyers. So what could be illegal is fraud, lying to the banks, lying to the authorities, and then the big one, and we're not there yet, but you're asking what's possible, what's being investigated? Why is a Russian-linked fund sending hundreds of thousands of dollars to a guy who, according to the feds, doesn't even practice law?
Right.
So what service is he providing? And that raises the question of, is there bribery or is there collusion? We're not there yet, and my job is always to keep an open mind. I did a report a month ago that Michael Cohen himself tweeted out and said, see, even MSNBC says I'm right, because I pointed out that it probably wasn't a campaign donation violation based on the facts that we knew. So when it's possible that they're doing okay, I report that. In this case, I'll tell you this week, they're not doing okay. This looks terrible.
I can't wait.
Now go back to
When
your
did
question,
you-
Yee.
oh,
Oh, no, it was I cut you off. I'm sorry, Yee.
I don't remember what my question was now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say to you when you were coming up in the media game, like you have a very distinct style. It's almost like Stuart Scott on ESPN, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Did anybody ever tell
It's
you
a big
to,
compliment.
like you can't do that. Nobody knows what you're talking about when you quote these rap lyrics.
I feel like what you're trying to sort of say is early 50 Cent, I know you like my style, but how much do you like my style?
I like this guy.
Okay.
I like this guy.
He thinks the president's a PIMP.
You said it. One thing I'm going to do during the interview is when you guys say things, I'll just be like, you said it. I was just here. You're asking me, did anyone ever say, don't do that?
Yeah.
It's never that direct, but I think, as you guys know, as you build any kind of following, there are all sorts of subtle pressures. And at the end of the day, it's a question of, are you going to be true to what you think is your job and who you are or not? And I don't think quoting, lyrics is any different than any other number of several things that people face. And you just kind of have to decide that. And so in that sense, this is corny what I'm about to say, but I'm corny. You know that. So I'm just going to be
No such
corny.
thing as corny anymore.
And
Oh, here we go.
The first rule of journalism is also the first rule of hip hop, which is keep it real.
Yeah.
And so if you're a nerd, be a nerd. And if you love something, explain why you love it.
Right.
And if you're trying to be fair to someone and people go, oh, well, like the Cohen example I gave, some people hate Michael Cohen so much, they don't want to hear me say that part of the story is good for him.
Right.
That's not my problem. So I think the pressures are there subtly, but you just got to figure out who you are and be who you are and then see what happens.
Look at the audience. Our demographic doesn't know who these people are that you're quoting. They don't know Jeezy. Who are these people? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, but this is the coolest part of the news. We don't know anything at first. I mean, we've spent 2 years learning a lot about Russia again. Back in the Cold War, I guess Russia was in the news, but we went through, 15 years where people weren't thinking that much about Russia. So if I can make it clear to people, then maybe they learn more and they do learn about that thing.
And the
100%.
rap quotes are in context, so even if you don't know the song, if it makes sense, I guess it makes sense.
Hopefully. Hopefully. And look, there's a lot of wisdom out there. I mean, this is the thing that, if you read Decoded and you study Jay-Z's lyrics
Hampton.
and Dreamhampton, you see for every line of text, there's 4 or 5 lines underneath it that you can start to unpack and understand. And the law is the same way. You take the First Amendment and it says, Congress shall pass no law abridging the freedom of speech. Okay, kind of know what that means, but then you start reading all the cases in the footnotes. There's all this stuff underneath it, right? And so, and religion is like that if you study religious texts. So that is something that hip hop and the law and the news have in common, which is there's the line, but the most interesting thing going on is what's behind the line, what's underneath all those words.
Don't you think hip hop is the most relatable culture and genre ever? Like, you couldn't do this with rock and roll. You couldn't do this with country. Like, everybody can adopt a little bit of hip hop.
Do you know
I mean,
the
I could-
lyrics of country or rock and roll? Do you know any of the lyrics?
Yeah, I
to
I
think.
know a few.
I mean, great lyrics are great lyrics because there are some.
Nah, but I'm
countries-
talking about the most relatable, like, because
as far as current events.
yeah, nobody, and you didn't see people adopting the rock and roll lifestyle all across the world, adopting the country lifestyle all across the world. Hip hop is being adopted by all cultures, all genres, all across the world.
I think that's right. And there's a great quote from a philosopher who said, an intellectual takes a simple thing and makes it complicated, and an artist takes a complicated thing and makes it simple. And how many hip-hop lyricists do we know who are dealing with the depths of the human experience?
Meek Mill, who was just
You
here.
guys, you said Meek Mill here. What is justice and injustice? What does it feel like to live in a dispossessed community where from the moment you reach consciousness, the entire system is telling you there's something wrong with you or how you look or your family or your community? Love, pain, suffering, money. What does money do and not do? All these themes, right? And they're never, in my experience, done in overly complex ways to just be fancy. They're done in the rawest ways where you kind of look at you hear the lyric and you go, oh my God, like someone's really talking. And so there's what I listen to, what I tap into that is there's a real honest oral tradition there. And so if you can even get near that or try to even access some of that, it's probably going to be useful to your point.
Look, I'm going to hit you with a line from Brown Sugar. When did you first fall in love with hip hop?
Are we talking D'Angelo or is that Brown
No,
Sugar?
the movie Brown Sugar.
Oh, the movie Brown Sugar.
Annihilation and Tay Diggs. Great hip hop movie if you've never seen it.
I got to see Brown
Probably
Sugar.
the greatest hip
I don't
hop
think
love
I've seen that
story
one.
ever.
It was great.
It's a classic.
Yes.
Better than Poetic Justice.
Yeah, because Poetic Justice is dope, but Brown Sugar is really like centered around hip hop because Sanaa Lathan's character is the editor in chief of Double XL, and Tay Diggs' character is the A&R of a record label, and it's the whole real hip hop, fake hip hop dynamic. Oh, it's great. You should watch it.
It sounds a little bit like when you've got Mail meets hip hop.
When
Like
you
a
got
little-
mayonnaise?
Mayo meets hip hop.
When you've
Oh
got
my
mayo.
God.
I thought like,
Oh, I thought you said
You've got
mayo. I was like, he just referenced himself
I was like,
as
when you got
mayo.
mayonnaise meets hip hop, that's Post Malone. But
Now we're just stumbling into references. That's my bad. Look, when the first album I remember getting on CD was the score by the Fugees. Pick up your microphones, and I just remember, and that was for me. It was a gateway because I'd been into reggae anyway. But then and Lauryn Hill and went from there. Wu-Tang was really big when I was in high school, and then of
Yes.
course Biggie, and then Seattle, Tupac for sure.
Okay.
Or I saw you on MSNBC recently on a quote you kind of came to Kanye's defense.
Did you?
And his newfound love of Trump. You said the story tonight is still that millions are blasting an artist for simply praising a president's style. People have every right to take that stance, but is it thoughtful, is it tolerant, and is it politically effective? Do you think any of Kanye's rhetoric is dangerous?
I think Kanye has now gotten to a place where even if you want to give an artist the benefit of the doubt, he's made that almost impossible. So I don't think there's much room or turf left. But the point I was suggesting, which I imagine was unpopular based on my mentions, among other feedback, was that while he's wrong, and I said in the same piece, I'm not defending Kanye West on Trump, and I'm not saying Kanye was right. But I worry about it, and you guys have talked about this on this show, and I know you've been talking about it a lot lately with some of the work you're doing in your books as well. I worry about an instant reaction culture where we don't leave space between I disagree with you, which is America,
Right.
and me and my entire group are now going to shame you and drag you
And cancel you.
instantly.
You're canceled.
for that.
See,
And I'm
now-
not saying Kanye West is the poster boy for that.
Yeah, because I don't think so. Because I will say this with Kanye, a lot of his own peers have tried to correct him, and I do think we are being very forgiving too of Kanye. I know some people are going hard at him,
You
but
said
Kanye
last
has
week
not
you were
been,
done with Kanye.
But Kanye has not been canceled. But you know what?
You said
For
last
me-
week he was. You said
for
you're
me,
done
but
with
for
him.
me with Kanye, it's not even just this statement. It's just a lot of things that he does that I just feel like he's very out of touch with what's going on with our experience as Black people living in America.
But you know what the
I feel he's
problem
very
is?
out of touch, and I think it's been like that for a long time, and I think that just really exemplified it.
The problem is he doesn't have the information,
That's
and,
all.
and he's speaking without having information. It's kind of like, me talking about what's going on with Trump. I don't know all the information, so I ask. I can't make statements without asking because there's people that follow us and listen to us and believe what we say is true. So with Kanye, he has millions of fans that listen to him and really follow him and really are invested with him. So when he speaks, they believe it.
And
But
he has people reaching out to him.
He doesn't
He's
believe that
posted
doesn't talk
those
truth.
messages of them trying to correct him and give him information, and he doesn't care.
Why not? That's why he's posting them. He's posting them to let people know I'm getting the right
I
information.
mean, he posted John Legend, and then he was like, I don't care what you say. It wasn't like him acknowledging, because John Legend was trying to explain why things like that are harmful.
He posted Steve Stout sending him that message about Republicans, and then he corrected himself, and he posted me and John Legend correcting Steve Stout because Steve Stout said Republicans are the only people who have ever done anything for African Americans. Ever.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. Like, come on, we know that's not accurate.
I think the most frustrating part is that Kanye West's public statements, which are now awash in ignorance and a type of justification of Trumpism that is really damaging to the civil rights cause that a lot of people care about in a lot of races, people who care about these issues, is also still at odds with some of the music. So there is still you said both of you said that he's uninformed about this today,
Absolutely.
and that's manifest. I think you're absolutely right. And yet, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it's on Watch the Throne when him and Jay are talking about
Made in America.
Made in America.
Yeah. Right.
This is dedicated to the memory of Dave and Roy Henry. Too much fire to catch a friendly.
Right.
And they're talking about the names of young black men, unarmed, shot down in different cities. That's also in there. So I guess what I was struggling with, probably didn't nail it as well as I could have. But I was struggling with how do we even try to reconcile that without the dragging? Even though no, he's not supposed to, because he has more power and more money and more privilege. Even though I'm not trying to use that word loosely, than many other people.
And it's also hard because there's people who have been so affected by Donald Trump, so they're very passionate about how they feel about it. There's people whose family members are getting deported, and, there's so many things that are happening. There's people whose family members are in jail. There's people who are in jail themselves, incarcerated for drugs, and he's saying we should kill these people, and all kinds of things. There's people from Haiti who are, and he called their country a ishhole. And there's so many people that are affected by what Donald Trump says that I think it's really hard for us to separate Kanye.
He has no clue. You saw when I asked him in an interview, he was like, I don't have the answers. He don't even know. He knows nothing about
none
of that.
But then don't speak on it.
I agree.
We should speak on it.
Well, and that's so part of what came through in your discussion with him and what's come out from all of this, and this is not a good thing, but it mitigate. In the law we talk about sometimes mitigating. That doesn't mean you didn't do the bad thing. It just means there's some factor that makes it less bad.
Yeah.
His mitigation defense here would be he's not talking about Donald Trump, the president.
Nope.
Right.
He's talking about Donald Trump, the sneaker.
Exactly.
And he's like, look at this sneaker and look how shiny it is. And
Yeah.
people underestimated this sneaker, and now it's shinier than you ever thought. And we're like, yeah, it's shiny, but look inside the sneaker. There's a terrible family deportation policy that's splitting children out. And he's like, no, but I'm talking about so that's not a defense, but it is a mitigation in the sense that and much better than I do because you spend time. I've never spent any time with him. I just spend time with the with the earphones. But is there something where he's only skimming that surface of Trump? He's talking about Trump the brand.
That's all he's
It's
doing.
just so irresponsible.
But you know what? Not only that, and what he's doing is irresponsible. I thought about it the other day, and I was like, if I wasn't doing radio, would I be into politics like I am now? I got 5 kids. I would have to work 8-9 hours a day. When I finally get home, am I going to turn on CNN or am I going to turn on my sports game and then
or
go to sleep?
MSNBC?
I'm not. I'm definitely not. So I might not know what's going on as well. And
But
there's
then
a
you
lot
wouldn't
of
be
people
like,
out
I love
there
Trump.
that don't know what's going on. Not to say that I like Donald Trump, but there's a lot of people that don't know. And my whole thing was, it's not the fact that he doesn't know, but he should know, is that the fact that he's talking about it.
Yeah,
like he
just
does
shut
know.
the fuck up if you don't know what you're talking about.
So I got a question. Given that everything you guys just laid out, which makes perfect sense, what is the right way as a culture and as a society to engage that individual, right? If what you actually want to do is build. Because I guess what I was getting at in the piece I did was the concern that you could fight and be right, but you don't necessarily build. It's like in the Jewish tradition, there's a thing called the 4 questions at Passover, right? Which is a slavery story of Egypt and all that. And the idea is there are different questions that people ask from within the community. And some people say, oh, well, why did you save us? What does this tradition mean? And that's like a positive way to look at the history. And then there's another question that comes up in those 4 questions that says, oh, well, why were you saved? And it is a person basically distancing themselves from their own culture. And there's a very aggressive response to that, which is like, oh, well, God saved me for the right reasons, and I don't know that he would have saved you. And the whole debate that comes out of that is, how do you talk to people, even if they are resistant or wrong, to bring them back into the fold? And so I guess I wonder, like,
That's real.
where do we go? Even if Kanye is obviously not the best person to drive this conversation, he is part of the conversation. The president of the United States is tweeting back at him.
I posted
Talking
a
about
quote.
He is Kardashian empire. How do you build off that?
I posted a quote yesterday from Malcolm X, and I think it sums it up. It says, "Don't be in a hurry to condemn because he doesn't do what you do or think as you think or as fast. There was a time when you didn't know what you know today." And I just think we need a little patience with people sometimes. Sometimes.
But some people get patience and some people don't. Honestly, I do feel like Kanye's been getting a lot more patience than other people.
Because of everything he's contributed to the culture.
Yeah, he's been getting attacked.
But
But I think what people are doing is great. I think the fact that he's building with people like T.I., even Charlemagne, and other people that he's talking to that surround him. But also, I think him being attacked online is making him open his eyes.
Absolutely.
Because now he's thinking about it like, why are these people attacking me? I'm from these people. I love these people. Why are they attacking me? And opening up and saying, okay, well, let me look at these things. Now, like you said, it might not be as fast as we want, but I think he's starting to open his eyes, even if it's a little bit. The fact that he's Googling who Angela Rye is, he has no idea, you know.
Your Seattle homegirl.
Also 206.
He's starting to Google these people and hopefully understand what the fight's about. And that's all we can do is hopefully and pray for that he's doing the right thing, because he does have a lot of influence. If he didn't have as much influence, I don't think anybody would care. But the fact that he has so much influence, it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you something? Let's switch gears for a second. You think it's possible that Donald Trump could get reelected, in your opinion?
Based on what we know, Donald Trump is on track to get reelected.
Really?
That's scary.
Yeah. Economy is decent.
Russia's still
His
around.
base is unified. And the conversation, the journalistic coverage of this Russia story makes sense, because this might be Watergate on steroids plus an international adversary. Depending on where this thing ends, and we don't know, this could be the biggest political scandal in American history.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Bigger than Watergate, everything. Yeah.
but then you look at the Democrats, and I'll flip the question around. That's an old anchorman trick. What are the Democrats telling people is the reason to vote for them right now?
Because you don't like Trump, which is the dumbest shit in the world.
Right.
Stop. I need to know what you're going to do for us in our communities in America. Forget Trump. Like, Trump don't even matter. Like, if you don't like Trump, you don't like Trump. But you
It's
don't have
like-
to, I'm not voting you just because I don't like Trump and you don't like Trump.
And you can do a battle track and a diss track, and you could do it again. You could do it a third time. You could get some fire off that. But the great artists that people are really excited about stand for something,
Right.
and they make people move and they make people party. And you say, "Oh, I love what you're saying." So the idea that you're going to do a diss track for 2 years, we already know people don't like Trump. In
Right.
fact, Trump is the over dominant conversation. So I think it's very telling when you look. What are the Democrats running on? What are they up saying when you see them on the air? Half the time they're talking about Russia too, which I'm not saying is not important, but their job has to be more than that. It has to be more than,
Proactive.
hey, remember that we don't like this guy?
That's why I feel like a lot of you see some liberals are moving over to the conservative side, because conservatives are actually talking about something. They're at least telling you what it is that they're going to do or can do for you.
And they're righteously angry. I mean, the other thing that's happening in my observation about the political moment we're in is Donald Trump has built a fundamentally oppositional grievance movement. It may be made of people who don't have as much
Hold on, now, that was big. Let me follow that. What you say? Fundamentally.
oppositional grievance movement.
All right.
These are groups of people who are basically saying they're very upset about where everything's going in the direction of the country, and they're upset about that, and that's oppositional. But guess what? He controls the White House. Republicans control the Congress, right? But if you turn on Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson, they're talking about, and I'm not making this up, war on men. Yeah. Or how...
What is the war on men?
well, you got to ask them that.
I'm
It's
just,
the
I
Me
don't
Too
even know what
movement.
that
The
is.
Me Too times up.
War
movement.
on men.
Oh, it's the anti-Me Too movement?
Then they're talking about deep state, which is the idea that there's some secret, maybe Obama-related group of people in the U.S. government that are undermining Donald Trump. I'm sorry.
Called Muslims.
Donald Trump and the Republicans control all three branches of government, which is rare. So they are oppositional because they're keeping that grievance going, even as they've won or are in control. Meanwhile, you have a very strong resistance movement, opposition movement against Trump. So that's part of why I think things are so fierce. Fake news, all that. It's all him constantly stoking grievance. And if you're mad at somebody else, as we all know, then you're less likely to notice whether your side has anything wrong with it. And so that's a key part of Donald Trump's thing. There was a guy named Leon Wieseltier who used to talk about the Christian right, the war on Christmas thing. And he said the Christian right combines the pity of a minority with the power of a majority. And that's what you're getting from these guys. It's like, what are they so upset about? They're in charge. Never mind, they're also rich.
And white.
And white, very, very white.
Now, who do you think could beat Donald Trump, if anybody? Do you see a candidate?
Kanye.
Shut up.
Either it's the anti-Trump or you go bigger than Trump. So the total anti-Trump would be someone like Sherrod Brown, who's your plain-spoken, working-class Ohio guy and has a good relationship with working people and fighting for people and is just the anti. I mean, completely opposite.
I think a woman would be
breaks
great
through.
right now.
Kamala
Harris
would
would
be
be great.
Kamala Harris is great. We had her on the beat, and we had her. You had her recently.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing would be to go and out Trump, but with his energy, but a different message. So The Rock.
The Rock.
No, time out. What you just said.
The Rock.
What Ari just said so eloquently is exactly what Kanye was trying to say. That's why he said I would run a Donald Trump campaign with Bernie Sanders principles.
That's what he said?
That's what he said.
Do you think Kanye West wants me to be his spokesman? Is that what you're suggesting? And is that a bad idea for a job?
I'm not for The Rock, though. I don't want no celebrity in chiefs.
Not
I don't
Oprah.
want The Rock. I don't want Oprah. I don't want Kanye. I don't want no celebrity in chiefs. I'm done with that. Like that, we made this mistake already.
Right. I think we made this mistake, and I think this stuff is harder than it looks. So Donald Trump had no public sector experience and no military experience, and that's the first time in American history we've done that. Never mind the fact that he's also a secretive person who claims a lot of things that have never been proven.
Right.
And that's really important. I mean, I think we're seeing this now in kind of a slow motion, very painful saga. But think about Trump University. We've all heard about that, right? More or less. Trump University was a business,
right,
that charged people for giving business advice.
Well, real estate, correct.
That went out of business. Let me say that again. Trump University was a business that charged people for giving out business advice that went out of business.
Is my degree from there still worth anything?
And went out of business so terribly that it ended up paying more than $20 million even after its bankruptcy proceeding because it had jilted so many people, screwed so many people. That is the type of business experience that he had before assuming this office, plus being a media entertainer, as you mentioned, Charlamagne. So why are we surprised that there's some weird account where people are getting money for doing nothing? Anytime you're getting money for nothing, you got to ask what's really going on.
Donald Trump energy, right? Is there any
You're talking about the dragon energy?
Yes. Is there any person of color who could do what Donald Trump did throughout his campaign and does now and even think about getting a nomination or even be on the ballot?
Well, I try to avoid hypotheticals and predictions, but I'll give you some recent history. And I'll give you a spoiler. No. But here's but here's the history. Barack Obama went 8 years with no criminal probe ever opened into his administration.
Unreal.
Which is different than both Trump and Bill Clinton and George W. Bush.
Unreal.
No major ethics scandal of any kind, partly because they put in place very careful restrictions to avoid pay to play and exactly the type of stuff Michael Cohen's in trouble for. And he tried initially to do a lot of unity stuff. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. Then he used a lot of executive power to finish up what he couldn't. He passed national health care legislation, national economic Wall Street reform, and changed foreign policy plans with North Korea, attempted with North Korea, with Iran, with Cuba. Whether you agree with those things or not, those are all a record. And at the end of those 8 years, a portion of America, and I always say not all of America and not all Trump supporters, but a large portion of America was still so enraged with the concept
of a
black man was president, perhaps more enraged by the fact that he was considered a good or decent president after those 8 years, that who emerged as the opponent? Not a traditional Republican, not a right-wing Republican. You know, Ted Cruz is very conservative, but Ted Cruz, what everyone thinks of him, was not a birther. He's very right-wing. He was not a birther. What emerged was the one person on the right who was willing to go further than all other elected Republicans, at least in the Senate, major Republicans at that point, to say, in a very directly racist way, maybe Barack Obama's not even American. Maybe he was born somewhere else. Let's find his tax returns. Get off the basketball court, quote unquote, was what Donald Trump was saying before 2016. That's who people turn to. So the notion of the standards, I mean, we see it in race, we see it across gender. the notion of what the standards and how much better you quote unquote have to be, and then what the reaction is, it's depressing.
Can you find any rationale for anybody to say they're a supporter of Donald Trump? Like, what are some things that you would say, okay, I can get that? Anything?
Sure. I mean, look, there's plenty of evidence that a lot of people in this country care a lot about basically being pro-life and making sure the courts have judges that are pro-life, and that's their voting issue. And that was true before Trump, and it's true separate from race. And he did, one of the things he did, partly because he got a list from the Federalist Society, was put a pro-life person on the Supreme Court. And that's millions and millions of people. So I'm always careful to say in my reporting, my analysis, well, I don't think you can cover American politics and be afraid of talking about racism. I mean, it's weaved into American life since the founding, right? Having said that, I'm very careful to say, there's plenty of other issues separate from that. And so there are people who support that with Trump, and there's people who are just such hardcore Republicans that they may not have liked Trump, but they'd been told Hillary was the Antichrist for 20 years, and they weren't going to vote for her. And we can get into this. I mean, you made her donkey of the day once upon a time.
A couple times.
There's also the fact that in that race, she was not perhaps the most strong and beloved candidate, although she got more votes in the end anyway. But there's a lot of those factors. So nothing that I'm saying means that everyone falls under that reason.
Do you really think Jay-Z lost 72 bricks and got it all back? And sold it from the first to the fifth once he got it back?
I don't know. I think that goes outside of my personal reporting and street knowledge. What do you think? What do you think?
I don't know. I have no reason to not believe him.
Do you think that if he truly were born in a very troubled part of the world, like, say, in the middle of a refugee camp where you really can't rub two sticks together, that he could still triple his worth anywhere on God's green earth?
I mean, Marcy not too far off. Marcy in the 60s wasn't too far off from
I think so.
I'm saying Marcy was pretty bad back in the day.
You're saying it was like
Yeah. It was a war zone back then. Yeah. It was pretty
Shout out
hard.
to Marcy.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do therapy real quick? Because do you agree with Jay-Z that when the pain is real, how can you heal what you never reveal?
Can't heal what you never reveal. 100%. I mean, I think that's part of living your truth. You live your truth, so nobody can use it against you. I think that when you're open and honest about things that you may be going through or things that may be bothering you, it really doesn't affect you. I think when you're hiding it and you hear people talking about it or calling you on it, that's when it bothers you more than just being open to it.
Can I hit you with Miley Cyrus then? No, just to change it up.
Let's see if I know this.
Well, this is just, and you tell us if you agree, because this is a thing you see in relationships.
Okay.
If you mean it, I'll believe it. If you text it, I'll delete it.
So I should call and say I love you instead of texting.
Anything important, you got to mean it, which is not a text.
Ooh.
Although this is the day and age of texting.
I've been told.
So it's hard to say because sometimes that text is great because you can screenshot it and send it to all your friends. And that's how we know it's real. And we can post it as well.
Because you're saying it's evidence.
Yes, Kanye and I both like to post our text messages that we get from people. That's very important.
How was MSNBC avoided any Me Too Time's Up scandal? You see Fox got hit hard.
Maybe they're just not touching people or, doing anything negative.
Maybe.
Ari, anything you want to get off your chest now?
Well,
you can get ahead of this?
It's a very serious issue in the sense that we're seeing this across a lot of companies and media companies. And so it depends how broadly you draw the corporate structure because it's hit people at various parts of the company. I think it's super important that we have this reckoning and that people talk to each other and we figure out how to address anything that's gone wrong and then fix it. I mean, that's important.
Did you know that one of the reasons why Hillary almost didn't do an interview with us because Charlemagne wore a Hillary mask and humped our board up?
Oh, the truth to the matter is, I was humping our board up all the time anyway. And so I just happened to have a mask on that day because it was Halloween. So, I mean, it was a regular day, it just happened to be Halloween, and I was in costume.
How did
Our board op was a male too, by the way. So I'm throw that out there for anybody that may want to Me Too me.
How did they?
Okay.
How did they find out about it?
I was on
It was
video.
on video.
It was on video.
I mean, there's a lot of video on the internet. I mean,
No, they didn't
Did
play
they
it.
also
They
ask
vetted
you about your
they vetted
Tekashi
everything
6ix9ine
out.
interview? Did they ask you about Birdman? I mean,
That
how
was
many
after.
videos were they watching?
They had everything. They had every tweet I ever mentioned Hillary
Really?
in. Oh my God, they had videos, everything. But I never said anything bad about her.
So, I mean, this is the real question. Would she have been better off if that's so? You're letting us into that was behind the scenes. That before you even got the interview, they were saying that she didn't like the way she felt you
Represented her as her.
Represented.
Deliberately
I
or
mean, that
not
could have been her
represent-
people. I don't know.
or her people, right?
Yeah,
or her
yeah,
very
yeah,
aggressive. And I've
probably
dealt with her
people.
people on the press side, and they were very aggressive. I think to the point of probably making her a worse candidate because they bubbled her so much. But I guess the question is, would she have been better off just coming in and doing a straight Birdman about it,
That would have been dope.
That'd have been her Bill Clinton on
That would
Arsenio
have
moment.
been dope.
and just come in and say, Charlemagne,
Put some respect on my
threw
put
name.
some
hot sauce
respect
in
to
his
my
face.
name,
That would have
and then
been
just been done with
classic.
it.
Especially if she'd have had the hot sauce bottle with a
what I'm saying.
respect label.
That's
and
right.
handed it to me. Put some respect on my name.
Now, Ari, I would love to hear your insight on some things that can be done as far as police brutality, right? Because that's a huge issue that's been plaguing us. That's not going anywhere anytime soon. So, what are some things that you think could happen that police officers could actually end up getting convicted for killing innocent Black people?
So thank you for the question. Obviously, a very important issue you guys have talked about. I've reported on it a lot. Number one, this is one of those issues where both things are true. On the one hand, the data shows that African American men continue to be gunned down, and there's very little legal process or recourse for that, including when they're unarmed. So we know that there is a police brutality and excessive force problem. But that fact, which is concerning to anyone who cares about human life, Black Lives Matter, you could say all lives matter if you're concerned about it, but of course we're looking at where this is actually happening. That fact doesn't mean that nothing has improved in the last several years. So by way of specific example, the DA in Ferguson, who'd never really faced a serious challenge, lost his job after everything. The DA in Chicago also was voted out and replaced by a much more reform-minded DA. Those aren't the stories that get as much attention as the president or Trump or anything else, but that's part of where you're going to see the change because you actually need people on the ground who are dealing with these cases. The second most important thing, which of course I think we've all talked about, is if we don't trust people to investigate themselves, right? If Goldman Sachs doesn't get to investigate Goldman Sachs and decide what the answer is, why in so many parts of the country do you have police investigating themselves when these issues come up, right? And that's a local structural question because while Reverend Sharpton, who's a colleague and who's of course worked on these issues for 30 years now, talks about pulling in the feds to investigate, that is a solution to that problem, but that means you're always starting with that problem.
Yeah.
So I will say in New York State, they've set up a separate investigative function, which means that the police are not investigating themselves when there is a questionable shooting. I think that is, at a process level, a basic thing that you should have in every locality in the country, which takes a lot of local reform. And no one should be afraid of that if you didn't do anything wrong. Right. Because you say, of course we want to go in, look at what happened. And, in policing, there's what's called a good shot and a bad shot. If it was a good shot, you're fine. And if it was a bad shot but not criminal, you say, well, shouldn't have shot, but we didn't have the requisite intent that this was a crime. And then if you have Laquan McDonald, I remember sitting in the newsroom and we'd studied what we knew about the case, and a lot of the accounts suggested it was bad, but it shook me to my core. We weren't allowed to play the entire video because we don't show
Actual shooting,
murder, torture ad nauseum on air for I think understandable reasons.
Right.
But I'm sitting in the newsroom as we were prepping it, and I'm watching, and it's over a dozen shots into a body on the ground. And you say, yeah, you need an independent investigation of that. Now there is in Chicago now, and I mentioned that's a place where the DA's changed. There, Kim Foxx, there is a murder trial that's still in process.
What are things we can do before it even gets to that level, though, as far as relationships between cops and Black men?
I don't know that I'm the best person to answer that. I think part of the problem is,
In your previous life, you wasn't a black man?
You sure, Ari? You didn't have a Rock Nation deal?
I had no
some
Rock
point?
Nation deal. As Drake would say, I got to stay in my zone. So I don't know that I'm the best to give that advice. I mean, Drake's half Jewish, so, I
your
should
guy.
lean into that a little bit.
That's what I got you.
But I think that one thing that's problematic that we all know is we don't want to be in a system where we're only lecturing women about how not to walk home or how not to be alone, because we're kind of taking it as a given that crime's going to happen. And so likewise, we don't want to be in a situation where we're lecturing people, especially the people who are more likely to bear the brunt of it, young Black men, that in addition to everything else, also slow motion hands and the Steve Harvey speech and all that. I get why people have to learn that. as a survival tactic, but let's take a step back and say that shows something wrong with our criminal justice system.
Right.
That the people who are paid to protect you are perhaps at times in some neighborhoods a bigger menace than anything else.
Absolutely.
So we have to deal with that. And I say that in addition to the fact that, and I do this because it's part of my job and I think it's important, over 96% of officers never discharge their firearm.
Right.
So we are literally not talking about all officers because we're literally talking about the officers who shoot. And in Chicago, we've seen some of the officers who shoot is a small number of people, and they're shooting over and over, right? But it's so hard to remove them from the force or prosecute them that you actually have them given potentially a bad name to so many other cops who literally haven't shot ever, let alone a bad shot.
Well, let's end with your favorite hip hop lyric of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Any artist, whatever. That one lyric that motivates you, inspires you. It's all about Ari.
Let's do two.
Slide on my knob.
Okay. The one that I find funny and perplexing is when Drake says, I said that I would do it and I did, used to get leftovers out the fridge. Because I feel like if you get really successful, aren't there more leftovers?
Well, he said used to get leftovers out the fridge.
Like he's not getting leftovers out of the fridge
Nah,
anymore.
used to. So that means like before he became successful.
But if you're big now, aren't you going to more fancy dinners, and then
Right,
of course you
getting more
take home
doggy
the
bags.
Or maybe he's not taking home leftovers
Oh.
anymore. Or he owns his own restaurant, so he doesn't need leftovers.
But
True.
DJ Envy,
Maybe he's like, I don't do leftovers. I get it fresh every time.
if you go to really, maybe this is just me speaking as
Oh, no, it's me and my wife, too. We love leftovers. It tastes better sometimes.
I don't play.
if
I
you go
love
to
my
really nice
leftovers.
places, say Kobe beef or whatever, and you take that home, then you just scramble it with the eggs the next morning, like
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
The
lyric-
restaurant would probably bring him some fresh Kobe beef in the morning.
So what's the other line?
He probably has a chef at home also.
really, because I got to pick one. It's got to
Right,
be
it's all
one.
good. Take your
no, I
time.
want to pick the right one.
When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall. And at the back of my
Envy.
mind, I hear my conscience call.
You feeling lonely?
I need love.
I'll tell you the progression.
Okay.
I'm gonna mix up the question.
That sounded like a rhyme right there.
Because I've been following Jay-Z for so long. I am fascinated by the evolution from Reasonable Doubt, where this young man with so much obvious genius level talent is proclaiming, I never cry, but if I did, I'd cry ice. To mid-career Jay-Z, where he's opening up and you have on Song Cry, I can't see the tears coming down my eye. So I had to make the song cry. So my art is now going to cry, which is part of me, I think, to him, but he's not there yet. To what we have now with this fully formed entrepreneur, father, he would say sinner, on 444.
Actually letting tears fall.
Letting tears
When
fall.
he said his mom, when he found out his mom was in love, stuff like that.
Crying over his family, crying over his mom,
Right.
and telling us about the most vulnerable things, telling us about imagining his kids playing with somebody else. I don't even. And so I think because Jay's my number one, I follow him for so long. That progression, when you think about, and I think about when he was writing the first lines, he didn't know where that would all end up.
Right,
And so he
absolutely.
literally went from someone who is, and that's why it's so frustrating when people narrow artists and narrow the art to, well, one time you said this one objectionable
Progression
thing.
and growth, right?
Right.
That growth to me from someone that I look up to on multiple levels, like that's an inspiration, and I haven't finished my journey, so it's a path. But thinking about that through all those different songs is kind of fascinating to
Have
me.
you met him?
We met briefly once.
Is he familiar with you? Does he know this guy is on MSNBC quoting my
I'm
lyrics?
sure he has to know.
I don't know what he knows.
I'm sure
around
Jay
him.
knows.
I don't know what he knows. When I pitched one of his people to come on the show, and they explained why he doesn't do a lot of interviews, and that was unlikely, I then said, because we were having a meeting, I said, well, I'd like to make the case, though, of why specifically talking to me would make sense for Jay-Z. And the person said, I think we're familiar with the case.
Right.
Yikes.
So they're aware.
I think the issue there is,
Damn, Shaka, why you so harsh?
I think the issue there is do they see me as more Stan than fan?
Plus, you live in Marcy now, right?
Clinton Hill?
I'm kidding.
I'm not representing. I can't represent Marcy.
Well, we appreciate you for joining us.
My man,
This was an
Ari.
honor to be at your table, and
Yeah,
I love the
thank
Breakfast Club. Thank you for having me,
All right,
guys.
last thing, since you just talked about crying, do you ever, because when I watch the news sometimes it makes me cry. Do you ever cry? Have you ever cried while reporting a story? Because it is so many things that happen that are emotional and passionate, and guests that you might have on and topics that you might discuss. Have you ever cried while reporting a story? Or is it that you see so much that you kind of are more numb to it?
Well, the general guidance is the anchor isn't supposed to cry because it gets in the way of the actual people in the story, the subjects of the story, and it could detract, and we're not supposed to get in the middle of that and make it about us. To answer your question directly, when we were covering the church shooting.
In Charleston, South Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's my birthplace.
What? Oh, yeah. So, right, and you and Craig Melvin.
Mm-hmm.
The murder, the terrorism was bad enough, and that all went down. And then it was a few days later, and we were covering the court hearing where Dylan Roof was in court. So you're looking in the face of this accused murderer.
White devil.
And some of the victims' families came in because there's a process of victim impact statement where they get to speak. Mm-hmm. And typically, I happen to know this from being a lawyer, typically what happens is people come in and they talk about how angry they are and what they want to have happen.
Mm-mm-mm.
And these people who were very religious, as you may all remember, religious members of this African-American church came in and they started talking about
Forgiveness.
Yes.
forgiveness and God bless your soul and forgive you. And that just broke me. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know where that came from because I don't know how, if I don't even know if I was in that situation, how they had that grace.
Capacity to even, right.
And I remember just breaking down and leaving but I was in a position right before I was about to go on and just breaking down and then going to I went to the bathroom and just tried to get it together before I went on air. So I've had that situation, and then it's like you're supposed to get it together.
Okay. Thanks for answering that.
I'm answering you real, although now we
Thank you
ended
for
on that
coming,
note,
man.
but
Tell
it really was an honor to be here.
Tell them where to follow you.
You can follow me at Ari Melber, ARIMELBER. It's the same on Instagram and Twitter. My Twitter's kind of boring. My Instagram is sort of getting there.
It's lit.
But there'll be photos here from this trip at Meek Mill, and thank you very much.
And the beat comes on every night on MSNBC.
6 p.m. Eastern every weeknight on MSNBC.
Word, my man Ari Melbler. Thank you for coming, brother. It's the Breakfast Club.